Peace, family. So, I want to talk about these Christian apologetics. Now, there's one apologetic in particular who's pretty famous on YouTube. And I had the opportunity to get into one of his lives. He actually usually only accepts Muslims, and they talk about the Injil meaning the good news, or the gospel. You know what I'm saying? And you got a lot of debating going on between these Islamic fellows and this Christian apologetic. His name is, or he goes by GodLogic. His name is actually Avery. And I got a lot of respect for the brother. He's doing a great work for Christianity, you know what I'm saying, which is cool, you know what I'm saying. Now that's fine and dandy. But my thing is, because of my experience with him, he didn't hear me out. You know what I'm saying? He gave me no opportunity to really express my views, and the panel at that particular time was open. And I think I can't necessarily remember what the subject matter was at that particular time, but it was an open forum for more than just Muslims at that particular time. Now, just to give you a brief synopsis on his debates with Muslims, it's always centered around the Injil or the gospel, and things that the Prophet Muhammad taught, or things that is relating to Christianity as it concerns the Islamic book. You know what I'm saying? And all that's cool, but it's like a lot of debating going on, and there's nothing wrong with a good debate. You know what I'm saying? But I see his angle. He's trying to convert or proselytize those who are Muslims and get them to convert over to Christianity, or to say that the Bible is the authority when it comes down to God, and the Bible and Christianity is the truth that everyone should live by. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of these Islamic people, they don't seem to be well versed in their scripture. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of them that come on to his I don't know, sometimes it looks like a podcast, you know what I'm saying, but they come onto his platform and they're not prepared. Now, they watch him a lot, and it seems like they come in and try to basically defend their brethren because they don't do a good job. You know what I'm saying? And that's what kind of piqued my interest at coming on and giving my views. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not an atheist. Believe me, I'm not an atheist. I do believe in God. I believe that there is a higher power. You know what I'm saying? I just don't believe that you have to go through Jesus Christ to serve God. You know what I'm saying? I've transcended that idea, and I have basically come to the enlightenment that God is a spirit, and that God permeates all time and space, and that the most ancient knowledge about God came to us through our ancestors that come from Africa. You see what I'm saying? So that would have been and was my position. And I was going to basically give him the true history and discredit the life or the existence of Jesus Christ. You see what I'm saying? And because he knew, this is my personal belief, because he knew what I was going to say, how I was going to approach the conversation, you know, he began to dance around what I was saying and tried to lock me into a context or a particular context. Now, I can't necessarily remember exactly what we were talking about that led up to him basically kicking me off his platform, but I was offended. You know what I'm saying? And I really felt like the reason he kicked me off is because I was about to obliterate, you know, his so-called truth. And it's not just him. He had one of his partners on there with him, you know, listening in, and they were, you know, pretty much in disagreement with what I was about to say, because they didn't even give me a chance. They didn't even hear me out. And like I said, the reason that he didn't hear me out is because I think he really knows the truth, and they don't give us the time of day. Who do I mean us? Those who come to the position that none of the characters in the Bible concerning the so-called Injil or the good news or the gospel, they never existed. See, Christianity and Islam, I would describe as fraternal twins when you deal with the object of their faith. You know what I'm saying? The dominant object of their faith would be God. You know what I'm saying? But the secondary object of their faith would be their prophets, Jesus Christ and Muhammad. Now, I'm not on here to talk about Muhammad, but what I am here to say is that they're in the same boat. You guys are in the same boat. Now, what I would like to do is have a discussion with you apologetics. You know what I'm saying? I would like to have a open discussion and or debate and discuss, even if we get into some biblical doctrine. We can do all that too. We can do that too. Because I personally trust and believe that a lot of what is taught outside of the identity of the character of Christ, the character of Jesus, more or less the proverbial teachings and the literature concerning living a holy life and how you conduct yourself, all of those things are very, very profitable when it comes down to living a righteous and a holy life, as the Bible, according to Christianity, teaches the believer. But all of that other stuff, man, y'all gonna have to, you know, come to the truth on that. And that's what I would like to talk about. You know what I'm saying? There was a little clip that I seen of him talking to some people in front of their mosque. See, this is some of the things that they do. They go around and they chase down these Muslims, and they have these dialogues with them, and they belittle them. I almost feel sorry for them. They belittle them. They, you know what I'm saying? They chop because they're versed in Islamic teachings too. You know what I'm saying? So they don't come unprepared. They have literally taught themselves what they need to know about Islam, correlated that with what is taught in Christianity, and they eat these guys alive. I gotta give it to them. They eat them alive. They trap them contextually, and then they just humiliate them. Now, I'm not coming to their rescue because I feel like they all in the same boat. I just want to have an opportunity, which I don't think I'll get, but I want to have the opportunity to really discuss the truth of the matter about Christianity and find out, you know, not even find out, but just, you know, I'll take that approach, you know, free some of our people from this religious dogma. You know what I'm saying? So in any case, I was listening to him. He was standing outside. I think he was in London. He was standing outside of these Muslims' mosque, and he was catching them coming and going and having little short conversations with them. And then he finally ran up on somebody who had some truth. He had some truth. You know what I'm saying? And he began to challenge him on the validity of the Gospels and the characters who are supposed to have written the Gospel. Not only the Gospel, but or the synoptic Gospels, but the writers of the Bible. And he was damn near spot on. He was damn near spot on. You know what I'm saying? And he challenged Avery, you know what I'm saying, concerning his knowledge. And Avery did what he did, you know, to most Muslims. He tried to trap him into a contextual question, and but he wasn't having it. And I actually have the clip, and I want to play this clip so that we can hear, and then I'm going to expound on what's being said. Y'all listen to this.
We don't know because that got lost throughout time. Bible was created by man. So if it's got lost and we don't know, then how do you know the Bible isn't the Injil? Because it's you don't know who's written it. Well, you don't know who wrote the Injil either. No, we know who wrote the Injil. That's come from God. The Bible, you don't know who it's come from. Here's my thing, brother. Is that in actual fact, you know that the Bible has been written by a minimum of 40 unnamed person. Hold up, we know their names. No, you don't. Yeah, we got Isaiah, we got Zechariah. Tell me what you know. What about the Injil? Tell me what you know about Mark. Yeah, easy. He was a companion of Peter, companion of Paul. His full name is John Mark. Okay, so we got some information about him. Tell me. Yeah, that's it. I mean, is that all I need? You are basing your salvation on that? Would you be able to tell me about Abu Huraira? I can't tell you a lot about it because I'm not a scholar. But what I do know is that these things, to me, make no sense. That you are basing your salvation. It's a double standard. No, it's not a double standard. You're saying I can find out. But you can't. You guys don't know, brother. You don't have spoken to many people. But you don't have Abu Huraira's first name. No, listen. I have spoken to many people, and nobody knows about Mark, Luke. I just told you about Mark. No, you haven't. Yes, I have. That he knew him.
He says nobody knows about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. He said he talked to many people, even Christian scholars, and they don't know much about these so-called disciples. Let's go.
He was a tax collector, but think about him? What's his
I do. I just told you.
Was he married? Did he have children?
What does that have to do with what he wrote?
That tells you about the character of the person and his history.
How does, wait, my brother, because like, for example, just for example, right, Muhammad's parents, they were not believers, right? But does that affect who Muhammad is just because his parents weren't believers?
It tells you about the character of the person.
How?
That's why you check the lineage of the person.
That's what I'm saying, how?
Where they come from. That's why I'm telling you, no? That how you find out about the history of a person, what do you do? When someone says to you, go and find out about this person, do you just go to him? No,
Yes.
you go to everybody around them as well. Find out what the character is, how he is, what he's like, everything.
Okay.
But with
You hear that? He says you go and you go to the peripheral people, the people around him or them, and you find out about them. You see what I'm saying? And then you obtain your knowledge of these particular people. You see what I'm saying? To find out more about them, to give them their validity. Let's go.
Matthew, Luke, and these people, you know nothing about
But
them.
we do. That's the part.
Secondly,
You don't do the same with Muhammad.
Listen. Secondly, where as I said to you, your 40 unknown people.
I gave you a few
People have
names, brother.
No, a few names is useless. Your own,
I can say the same for you.
Your own scholars, Christian scholars, have said we know nothing about
That's
it.
not what they said. Like for example, brother, if I were to ask you who wrote Surah Al-Baqarah, what would you say?
Nobody wrote it.
Yes, they did.
Who wrote it? Tell me.
I don't know. That's what I asked you.
It's not. Nobody. But I'm telling you, and you're saying no.
Wait,
The
so
whole Quran.
You see, now he's trying to turn it around and ask him the same question and tell him that there's no validity to the people or the person who has interest in Islam or the Quran itself. Let's go.
who wrote the Quran?
The whole Quran is the actual words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I understand that belief, my brother. I'm asking about the Quran that we have together here on earth.
Yes.
Who wrote that? Who wrote the Quran?
You see, this is a very big misconception of what other people make.
Okay.
Who's written it is irrelevant because the wording has come from Allah.
So I can say the same thing, brother. I can say who Matthew, Mark, Luke, and
People
brother, let me let this point.
woke up in the morning
No, this is important.
and have said, I've had a vision.
But this is important. Muhammad says the same thing.
No,
Muhammad went into the cave and claimed to have gotten a vision from Gabriel.
Hey.
All right, so look. This brother basically challenged the validity of the Bible, and especially the writers of the gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, those who were disciples and were supposed to have written about Christ. You know what I'm saying? And this was my approach, because I'm coming to you and I maintain that Jesus Christ never existed. Neither did Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. You see what I'm saying? Which raises the question. See, Christians believe that there were church patriarchs or church fathers who during the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th century found manuscripts, because Jesus died, according to the Bible, in the 1st century. And they say that Christianity was an active religion during that particular time, when historically that's just not true, right? So when I was having my conversation with GodLogic, he cut me off because I was taking this same approach, because he knew that I was striking at the root of Christianity, and I was about to expose the truth of the inception of the religion. You see what I'm saying? And when you begin to strike at the core and the foundation of the validity of the characters who allegedly wrote the Bible, who wrote about Jesus, and you can show and prove scientifically, historically, archaeologically, that none of these characters existed, then you obliterate their whole argument. You see what I'm saying? Now listen, I maintain that the inception of Christianity happens in two parts. See, you have the literature of Christianity and you have the development of the Christ character. And this Christ character goes all the way back before Christ. All of this happens and takes place in ancient Egypt, right? When Alexander came into Egypt, right? And then after the fact, you had a series of events that took place after Alexander died, and Ptolemy, who was one of his generals, took power and had an image created of himself through the Egyptian Coptic priests at the time, a sect of the Egyptian Coptic priests, and caused them to accept an image in 323 BCE. And that particular image, through the course and period of time, became your Christ character that was developed in Rome, right? Amongst the Byzantine Empire. See, all of these historical facts, if you know what you're talking about and you've done the research, you can expose what Christianity is really about and how it came into being. You see? Now, the Christ character is one part of history. And you have a cumulation of that development. And then you had a course of history where the literary system was created. And you got to realize during this particular time, there were not many people amongst the Byzantine Empire that could read or write. They were illiterate. You see what I'm saying? Now, if the ruling class of people at that particular time could not read or write, what makes you think that four unlearned men, I don't care if you say they were under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit and all this and that, and they, wrote or spoke, and some scribe wrote. No. They did not come up with the synoptic gospels that were saying some of the same things about Christ in different ways. And these began to be your so-called gospel or your so-called Injil, when the true history is hidden, but it's right there. It's right in your face if you dig enough and you got the right sources to find out. And what this man was saying to Avery is that you don't even know anything about these so-called writers. And what Avery was beginning to say he knew about them was based in the religious text. That's where you got that from, out of the Bible. But you can't go anywhere outside of the Bible to find out anything about Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. But you can go and find out about the people who created those characters and wrote on their behalf. Those people you can find. Those people you can search out their history and their motive. You see what I'm saying? And this is what is not being done on a major level. It's not being done on a major level to be able to even combat or have a dialogue with these apologetics. You see what I'm saying? And that's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done. We need to question the validity of these said writers and then highlight the inception of this Christ character to show and prove that all these things are made up. They're made up. Right? So, when I saw this clip, I said, you know what, this is a very, very important clip, because here you have a Muslim challenging GodLogic on the very existence of the people who he claims to have written the gospel or the Injil. You see what I'm saying? That's what needs to be done. How are you going to combat somebody who brings you profound truth? How are you going to combat that? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to, tell them, I'm not having this conversation like you did me? You going to cut them off, or are you going to have the conversation? This is not just to GodLogic. This is to everybody that follows you, everybody that helps you attack Muslims. Are you prepared to have that discussion? You see what I'm saying? Because I can bring you the truth about those 40 writers, you know what I'm saying, who are said, to have had their hand in the development of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New. Y'all got to realize there was one time where the Old Testament and the New Testament were two separate books. They wasn't even printed together. They were printed separately and sold separately and gave to the masses separately. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth of the matter is, even the Jews who had their hands in the creation of the Christian Bible very extensively don't believe in this Christ character. That's why the Muslims don't. You see what I'm saying? And the rabbit hole goes deeper than that, but how are you going to combat that type of dialogue. I don't think you will. I don't think you can. I don't think you will. I don't think you can, because when I came respectfully and desired to, just have that discussion, you knew where I was going, and you cut me off and kicked me off your platform. And I'm looking for you now, man. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for whoever with you, whoever is out here peddling this trash, so that we can set our people free. Because all y'all doing is, making money for the current establishment, making a little money for yourselves, and, belittling people because of what they believe in. You in the same boat as they in. You're in the same boat. Even when you're talking about the Trinity, and where does the Trinity come from? I can show you and prove that your very Trinity is thousands of years older than the Trinity that you talk about in the Bible, that you say is true. You see what I'm saying? The early church fathers, or the people who you say have those or created those old first century manuscripts, you know what I'm saying, which has the tenets of Christianity, those who you say wrote those never existed. And then you have those who came behind them who are trying to validate these manuscripts, were writing forwards and backwards in time to create this facade of a religion called Christianity. Yeah, we can break it down and we can expose every level of it to show the people, you know what I'm saying, that what you're following is not 100% accurate at all. Now, you got, like I said before, some good teachings in the Bible that people can live by. But the object of your faith never existed. Never walked the earth. Not even those who are said to have followed him. Nah. It never existed. So, at the moment that you see this video, you know what I'm saying, hit me up. I have whoever you know that's prepared to have this dialogue, and I'm going to bring you my sources. I'm going to expose to you, excuse me, the people who actually lived and died, who have graves, who have tombstones, you know what I'm saying, who have historical landmarks, I'm going to bring that knowledge and that history and show you the development of your book, the development of your Christ character. You know what I'm saying? And the process thereof. Even though I know you probably done some research and done some study and said, damn, I got to keep this. I can't let this on my platform because this will flatline my platform. I can't be on there talking about no shit like this because, this has to remain a mystery. Nah, the truth is coming to the light. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, man. Peace.